Thank you. Next up, we'll invite Barb Dietrich Jenks and Pat Jenks Ford to introduce Don.
Hi. I'm Don's sister, known when I'm in Tuscola, known as Patty. So I'm so honored to be here and to partner with Barb to introduce him. As a kid, Donnie was quiet and shy. I think he probably could never get a word in edgewise with his three sisters who were very bossy. Perhaps in high school and college, by his own admission, Don was a slacker. He didn't win anything with chemistry or anything. He did not excel. You know, he was smart, but he didn't. And we were talking about this yesterday. When he was drafted, he was 19. And when he saw the worst of warfare in Vietnam, he was only 20. When Don and Barb asked me to be a part of this, I scoured the internet for some quotes that would talk about courage and courage. That is what was forged in him during this. I believe this quote says it all. I think this is true for many of the men who have been in warfare. The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy. And most of us in this room know that season of time when Vietnam was being fought, how controversial it was. It certainly was a challenge, especially for the young men who went over there. Young men and women as persons. Don stepped up, he led men, and he was willing to sacrifice his life for his buddies. He went there to do just a job, is what he told me yesterday. But there he met the man, the character and excellence that he was meant to be. Don is living his life as that man, a man of integrity, courage, and faithfulness. I always refer to him as my little brother. You know, I'm down here. When my husband heard that we were going to do this, he told me I really should share that he probably learned his skills to survive attacks by when our oldest sister Shirley threw a shoe at him and he ducked and it went through our picture window. My dad was very upset. We're going to read to you some of the things he received while he was in Vietnam.
The first one that Don received, or that he got a Bronze Star. And that was for the service that he did. This is good. The service that he did from October 1968 through October 1969. And it reads, for his meritorious service in the Republic of Vietnam during the period of October 1968 through October 1969. His rapid assessment and solutions of numerous problems inherent in the combat environment greatly enhanced the Allied effectiveness against a determined and aggressive enemy. Despite many adversities, he invariably performed his duties in a resolute and efficient manner. He energetically, which I'm impressed, he energetically applied himself. I mean, how could you be energetic when bullets are coming at you? But he was energetic. Applied himself to each task, which contributed immeasurably to the United States mission in the Republic of Vietnam. His loyalty, diligence, and devotion to duty are in keeping with the highest tradition of the military service and reflect great credit upon himself, his unit, and the United States Army. That's the first of 5 more medals that he received.
I was in the Philippines when my brother was in Vietnam, and all throughout the time in the Philippines, we were trying to meet up. He was going to come to the Philippines for R&R, but it never happened because he was never able to. He ended up going to Guam, I think. On March the 6th, 1969, while on combat operations, Company B came in contact with a large enemy force. During the ensuing battle, several men became pinned down by the intense hostile fire. Sorry. When I read this, I remember the first time I read it when I was at home. I don't know if my mother sent it to me when I was in the Philippines. My God, what's he doing? He almost was killed. Anyway, Sergeant Jenks immediately began to place devastating fire on the insurgents, enabling the beleaguered group to withdraw. Spotting a seriously wounded man, Sergeant Jenks, with complete disregard for his own safety, exposed himself to deadly Viet Cong shelling as he moved through the enemy kill zone and evacuated his fellow comrades to safety. His valorous actions were responsible for saving several lives in the defeat of the hostile force. In that battle,
John's second medal was a Silver Star, and this was the second Silver Star. So this was a first Oak Gold Leaf, first Oak Leaf Cluster Silver Star. That was because that was his second one. And this was on June 6th. For gallantry and action, Staff Sergeant Jenks distinguished himself by heroic actions on June 6, 1969, while acting as a platoon leader with Company B, 4th Battalion, 23rd Infantry in the Republic of Vietnam. While on a reconnaissance and forced operation, elements of the 23rd Infantry came into contact with an unknown-sized enemy force. In the initial exchange of fire, an armored personnel carrier sustained a direct hit by a rocket-propelled grenade. Sergeant Jenks, having been seriously wounded, disregarded his injuries and mounted the disabled vehicle and began to place devastating fire on the hostile position. As the battle progressed, Sergeant Jenks exposed himself to a hail of fire as he continued to place effective fire on the enemy and guide his men in a withdrawal for supporting fire. His valorous actions contributed immeasurably to the success of the mission. Don's parents had just moved to around Houston, Texas when this happened. The next morning, a constable from Harris County came to the house and reported him missing in action. As a mother and a grandmother, I just can't imagine receiving that kind of news. He also received a Purple Heart for his wounds received in action. And then he received a second Purple Heart the same month for being shot. The next day, though, they did contact when he was finally aware. They finally were aware of him coming back to base. They did notify his parents again that he was no longer missing in action. That was the bloodiest day. He lost 10 men from his platoon that day, in 1969.
The interesting thing is I've spoken to young men who've been in Afghanistan this time around, and that's the one thing they say, what they do is mostly for their buddies, to save their buddies. And that's what Don said, you're thinking about saving the guy next to you. On August the 20th, 1969, while serving as a platoon sergeant with Company B, 4th Battalion, 23rd Infantry in the Republic of Vietnam, I had to have him explain all those things. It's like Greek, While established in a night logger position, Company B came under massive attack from a large enemy force. During the initial contact, severe casualties were sustained in one sector of the perimeter. This is for another Bronze Star. Disregarding the intense fire, Sergeant Jenks fearlessly exposed himself to the deadly barrage as he moved to the endangered section and placed devastating fire in the advancing insurgents, successfully covering the evacuation of the injured and allowing time for the reactionary force to arrive and secure the weak positions. You know, at the end of each one of these, there's this one phrase, this one sentence that we did read. Sergeant Jenks' bravery, aggressiveness, and devotion to duty are in keeping with the highest traditions of military service and reflect great credit upon himself, his unit, the 21st Infantry Division, and the United States Army. And I would say, too, you know, the place he grew up, you know, and the town that he grew up in, and friendships and all of that sewed into him something that was able to come forth during a time when he was only 20 years old.
Lastly, I think this sums up Don in my mind, and it's from John 15:13. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. I would like to now introduce a great father, a great husband, a great brother, and a wonderful grandpa.
I guess none of you ever realized John Wayne was reincarnated. I had to do a presentation to the high school yesterday, and I told them this, and I think you deserve to hear it too. That when I got back from Vietnam, we processed out in Oakland, California. I had been in the Army for 1 year, 10 months, and 29 days. So I only had 31 days left of my active duty service, so they were sending me on home. But in the process of that, they told me, take off your uniform, put on civilian clothes. Do not tell people you're a soldier. Go home, don't talk about it, don't do anything. So that's what we did. Went to airport in San Francisco. People could probably tell I was a soldier from my haircut, and I was carrying a duffel bag. But nothing happened there. Fly into Houston. My parents had moved there while I was in Vietnam, and got off the plane to my family. And it was a joyous homecoming there, but that was pretty much it. In the 50 years since then, treatment and acceptance of soldiers, especially guys that are in battle, in war. A lot of people coming home from Vietnam got spit on, baby killers. Luckily, that never happened to me. Thank God. I don't know how I would have reacted. But the way soldiers, aren't in a war because they want to be in a war. They're in a war because their country asked them to be in a war, and you're doing it, partly for love of country, but I'd say mostly you're doing it for that guy that's next to you, and you're hoping he's doing it because you're next to him, and you're supporting each other, and that's in all these battles, you don't think about, I'm going to be brave, I'm going to run out there like an idiot and try to, run between the bullets and not get hit. You're thinking, I got a guy there, I have to help. And that's all that is. Someone seeing it from behind or something, decides to write it up. Like I say, those wars are wonderful. I'm very proud of my service, just like I'm very proud of being from Tuscola. I think growing up here, I'd say gave me the tools I needed to perform those tasks. Working with your hands, working, I started out, as a picker boy, and, when I was in high school, we teams of us, we hooked weeds out of beans, eat out some corn, baled hay, did all those physical tasks and all that, and, that's how you expect the world to be, and, so once you get in the Army, like I told the kids at high school yesterday, when I finally got in the Army is when I finally, it finally got through my head that, you know, you better start applying to yourself. Because like my sister said, you know, I was dead middle in the middle of the class in high school because, you know, I didn't apply myself. Went to Illinois State partly because of Brian and Leon and Bob Sedero, and we didn't pay as much attention to our studies as we should have. I got asked to leave school. You know, that was probably a record. You know, nowadays they're in semesters, so you lose every year. But it's like as soon as they asked me to leave, I came back to Tuscola, and draft board knew I was here because that was Max Albritton's mother. So I got my draft notes and reported. But you know, once I got back from Vietnam, you know, like I said, my parents were moved to Texas, and I went there when I first got home, you know, because that's where my family was. But then I realized, you know, it doesn't feel right here. So that's when I came back to this area. I ended up sharing a house trailer in Villa Grove with Brian, and you know, we had some good times. And you know, I really want to thank Brian and Leon Kenny. He was going to be here. I guess he got stuck somewhere. Especially those two, because you know, they were kind of my base when I got back. You know, like my two closest friends. And like I say, living with Brian, you know, I'm sure it was no treat for him. He used to tell me sometimes that, you know, the house trailer in Villa Grove, his room was at the, you know, the master bedroom since he was there first, and at the back of the trailer, and the bathroom was in the middle of the trailer. My bedroom was in between his bedroom and the bathroom. So when he'd get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, he said, you know, half the time I would start screaming at him, PTSD, you know, whatever, and start, you know, what are you trying to do? Get down? You trying to get shot? So he eventually got to the point where he would get down on the floor and crawl. But like I said, him and Leon especially, you know, Bob and I were very close, but he was the guy that got smart when we, you know, when we both pretty much got asked to leave Eastern. We were talking about, well, let's join the Marines together as a buddy plan. We could be Marines. And then Bob got smart, and he enlisted in the Air Force. He was a flight line mechanic, spent 6 years in Cocoa Beach, Florida. And, you know, I said, well, you know, I can't do 6 years, so I'll get there. Again, because of my, you know, being such a slacker at the time, when I got to the Army, you know, they did all the testing and all this. They said, okay, well, you know, this dude has some smarts. But unluckily, all the people that were enlisting at the time were getting the best positions. They said, well, you know, you can qualify for like chemical warfare school or even warrant officer flight school, stuff like that. But all those positions are filled with enlistees. You're a draftee. You're infantry. So I got trained in heavy weapons infantry in Fort Polk, Louisiana, which is mortars and big cruiser guns. But like I said, that is when I finally clicked my mind to apply yourself. You know, if you don't, you're going to be cannon fodder somewhere. And so I applied myself at AIT, and I finally got recommended to go to what was called Non-Commissioned Officers Candidate School. It was at Fort Benning, Georgia. You know, at the time I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. I have to do this. I know right now that, you know, the whole time during Vietnam, when you got into the Army and all your training, all they ever, you know, hit you with all the time is how bad it is in Vietnam and the stuff that's going on there, and how if you go, you're probably going to get killed. And so that's when I, you know, finally clicked. You don't know enough yet. So that's when I volunteered. You know, yes, I'll go to NCO school. You know, plus it helped too that, you know, because I went to NCO school, you stayed in the United States another year longer before you went. But, you know, again, lack of forethought, and you think coming out of NCO school, you know, you're now a non-commissioned officer. You're in charge of other people. In this case, Vietnam, we're a mechanized infantry unit. So as my first day on the job, I was a squad leader in charge of theoretically 10 guys. Usually it was no more than 6 or 7. And 1 armored personnel carrier, which I've never even seen one of those before. So, you know, that's when, you know, it finally hits you, you know, okay, I'm responsible for these people. They're looking out for me, but I am charged with looking out for them. So, you know, after I'd been there 5 or 6 months, first few months there wasn't not a whole lot going on. But I got a good promotion to staff sergeant. And then they said, okay, now you're staff sergeant, now you're a platoon sergeant. So now you've got 4 armed personnel carriers and 40 guys to look after. But like I said, the recommendations my wife and my sister read are, you know, testimony just to people looking out for each other. And like I said, I think all that comes from growing up in a town like Tuscola, where, you know most everybody around, you care for them, they care for you, and so, you know, you will do your best to protect. So it's an honor to be introduced to the Hall of Fame, inducted to the Hall of Fame. I just learned about this a couple of years ago, got an email, probably from Marcy or somebody, and I showed this to Barb, and said, look at this, Tuscola has a Hall of Fame, isn't that cool? You know, you think I could make it? You know, I kind of forgot about it. And then, you know, got recommended, and here I am. So thank you to the Hall of Fame. Thank you for all being here. Thank you to Leon, Brian, all my friends, all the class of 66. I thought about you guys a lot when I was over there. Why the hell didn't I do better?